Afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. I'd like to thank everyone who watched the first video. It's only been like 20 odd people, but the fact that I've been able to reach that many people so far is absolutely awesome. It's no mere coincidence that you guys have made it to that kind of video. Like you've obviously gone out and searched for it, and you've recognized in yourself that, like I did, that there needs to be some changes made. And I'm glad that we can start this journey together. I want to commend you for that first and foremost. So this first episode I'm going to jump into is more around health and your mentality, like the mental side. So your mentality coming into the whole challenge, I guess you could call it. Now, the most important thing to recognize first is with any topic is to define your goal and know that it's not going to happen overnight. That's, you can acknowledge that, and that's easy to do. Everyone can acknowledge that things don't happen overnight, but accepting it and knowing that it's a commitment and it's going to have to become a habit to continue to move forward. And that's actually a pretty hard thing to do in today's day and age. You know, when you think about the information that we've got provided, there's just a sea of information. We can get anything we want. You can go to fast food restaurants, you can get food instantly. You can get movies, songs, anything like that. You just go on the internet and you can search it and you get it instantly. But when you're trying to achieve balance in this kind of thing that I'm doing, when you're trying to encourage growth, it's not as simple as that. It takes a distinct step. And I want to come back to how you guys have decided to come here and how we've decided to make a start. That first step is a beginning of the journey. And you might not have acknowledged that to begin with, and I certainly didn't, but it is an important first step. But how do we continue this pattern? How do we continue on with this motivation? Motivation to me, as I explained in the last video, it's often comes in short bursts, and it's really awesome when it comes along, but then it soon vanishes and we end up back down again. And the way you break this is not by being motivated or having really strong willpower all the time. It's about creating positive habits that you can bring into everyday life. And that's really what I'm going to talk about habits and how it changes your mentality. Now, the way I'm looking at it currently is that if I surround myself with all the material, say, for example, I'm listening to Tony Robbins podcasts all the time, I'm trying to read, I'm reading infinitely more than I used to. I never ever picked up a book in my life, but now I'm starting to read more. And the videos on YouTube that I'm watching, although I still do watch some of my hobbies like gaming and stuff like that, but now I'm watching some like TED Talks and that kind of thing. And what I'm doing with this information, to try and train my brain to think in the alignment of these four categories of being rich in life, I'm carrying around just a notebook, plain and simple, and I write in here on the bus. I dedicate 15 minutes pretty much to myself, and on the bus ride, or if I don't have uni that day, I just write down in the book anyways. And I want to share something here, which I wrote. This is actually legitimate. So here it is on the 16th, and I've got some more stuff after it. So I've been writing heaps. On the 16th, I said, and this just keep in mind gave me the idea that, hey, my mind and the way I'm thinking is starting to change. So on the 16th, I must have wrote this at night. I said, I went to play video games tonight and got bored so quickly. As I focus more on the HWKR and surround myself with this kind of material, it's becoming a habit. And I must have obviously been thinking about this, and this is kind of where this topic is stemming from, is that when you start surrounding yourself and you think in your mind that this is really possible, other people have done it, I can do it as well. And it's that visualization of it being possible is the most important part. If you have a situation where you're certain of the outcome, say you're certain that it's going to fail, you won't do it. Or if it's going to hurt you, you won't do it. If you're going to succeed, then hell yeah, you're going to go and do it. But in this gray area with things that aren't a necessity, like you could get by in life without it, the gray area is what really kills us. The whole channel and this whole journey that I'm trying to go on is in the gray area. But what has happened is I wrote this down in concrete. I encourage you, if you're trying to make change in these categories, define your goal and start taking notes, whether it's writing it down, putting it in your phone as a note, messaging yourself, or taking a memo or something. But once it is saved and written down and in cement, it sticks with your mind. This was written 2 weeks ago, and it's been hanging in my mind for the last 2 weeks. I've been putting off making this But now it kind of got to the last straw, and the reason is I'm thinking about it now is because I've been starting to put this stuff and always referring to it and referencing it. I want to tell a bit of a story actually about this, visualization and knowing you can achieve it before it's even done. I watched a video on Tony Robbins yesterday. You're going to hear me talk about him a lot in future. He's one of my mentors or my idols at present, I guess you would say. And he was telling a story about the lead up to the completion of the 4-minute mile. And no one had done it in history. And what happened, the first guy who did it, he visualized in his mind that his body was capable of it. Despite people saying you're not capable, it can't be done, it's impossible. In his mind, he visualized that it is possible, that he had already done it and his body was capable of it. And wouldn't you know it, he smashed the 4-minute mile. And this is the biggest part about it, right? In the 2 years following that, 36 other people broke the 4-minute mile record. Think about that for a second. When it becomes possible in your mind, so this guy did it. He did it on his own. But all these 36 other people saw him and thought, this is possible. And when it becomes possible, that's when you can achieve it. And that's where I'm going with this whole mentality thing. I'm setting down my goals. I am putting like a realistic expectation on it. And I'm making it positive in my mind. So here, end goal, man. If I could talk about this kind of stuff and be that well spoken that I could speak in front of 10,000 people, that'd be absolutely incredible. But that's end goal. For now, I've just got to practice. I've got to get the knowledge. And these are the step-by-step that I've been talking about. You heard in the start of the video, I mentioned that we need to have growth as human beings. Growth is one of the 6 basic human needs of human beings. If you don't have growth, you just start to get bogged down. If you picture someone who's studying a subject, for example, at school, and they might have failed a subject, but he will go on and complete it, and that feels really good because you're growing. You're getting better than you were the year before. But in a situation where, say, you keep failing that continually, when you're in a relationship that's one-sided, when you're in a job and you're living paycheck to paycheck and you just really don't like it, that's where you're not growing, and that's where you get bogged down. You're not fulfilling your basic human needs. And just on the basic human needs, in regards to your mentality, when I mentioned that I spend 15 minutes speaking, just writing down, listening, taking notes, that's spending dedicated time listening and thinking actively about what I'm listening to. And that's how I deal with spending 15 minutes on myself. I'm not worried about who I got to serve when I get to uni or when I get back home, or who I got to call or who I got to text. It's more like you need to be able to spend 15 minutes on yourself. It's similar to when you're on an airplane and they tell you in an emergency, secure your mask before you secure anyone else's. And it all comes back to this, that at minimum, I'm spending a bit more time because I'm liking it more, but spend time on these goals that you're setting out on this journey. And give yourself at least 15 minutes, just committed to yourself where you're thinking realistically about it. What are your goals and how you're working towards them? So that's pretty much all I've got to speak about just for today. I wanted to smash out this first episode pretty quick because I put the first one out yesterday. I just wanted to give you guys an insight on what an episode is kind of like. The way I'm thinking now, since I've committed to this, committed to trying to achieve change and balance and enrichment in my life. I'd also be really eager to know, have any of you guys had an experience where you put into place what I've just spoken about? Maybe you were at an athletics carnival and you had a shot put and you pictured just shooting it and throwing it 20 meters. I don't know how far you can throw a shot put, but have you had this visualization? Maybe it was you crossing the finish line and it pulled through. Did you visualizing it and making it possible in your mind, did that pull through for you that day? And also similarly, maybe you're working towards a goal today or for the week or for the month. If you're willing to share it with me, my goal, as I mentioned, was to be able to be maybe kind of like Tony Robbins, to become like a strategist, to understand the problems people face. I'm pretty lucky, so I would like to get some perspective on what other people have to deal with. And also, and then who knows, it could get mentioned or give me something to talk about on the channel, and I'd really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this, to the second video. if this is your 10 minutes that I was talking about that you commit to yourself, then thank you so much. Good on you. That's exactly what I'm trying to achieve for this. I'm really enjoying it so far. Granted, it's only the second day, but this has been going on for about a month now. I've been taking this stuff down, and now that it's been put into action, it feels really great. So thank you so much again. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more. Also leave any comments. Doesn't have to be related to what I mentioned before, but I'll see you in the next video. Peace.